Make no doubt about it, border crossings are down, and President Trump is doing everything that he can to get this immigration in check and make sure that we are still safe here in America from all the dangerous individuals. However, we got some people that are continuing to fight and say that everything that Trump is doing is not right. We bring one of them on and we figure out what is the crude truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs. And if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry. We are committed to being good stewards of the environment. We are providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Exec Crew. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Texas Star Alliance. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Well, thank you as always for tuning in for another episode of The Crude Truth. Border crossings are down tremendously since November, and they've only gotten better. And the people that are actually deporting is ridiculous. People are walking out literally on their own saying, we ain't dealing with this. But yet we have some people out there that are still saying, stop, fight, because it's your right to be here, undocumented or illegal, because that's what they're saying. And it's like, there's no way that is true. That is not the case. They need to come over the right way and things need to be done right. And also we have to get to the crude truth, which is nobody is willing to fix the immigration problem. But today I brought in one of Dallas's and probably the nation's top immigration lawyers, Kathleen Martinez. You've probably seen her from social media. Kathleen, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm excited to have you here. I cannot complain. You are on a tear right now. You are just out there throwing out information. You said the other day that it's going to cost billions more to deport everybody. And it's like, that cannot be true. It's like, we need to get these people out. But yet you're over here saying you need to stay and do it the right way. What's going on?
Well, I think the problem is immigration is not, in my opinion, political. And I think we have so many people telling immigrants to leave and to not be here and that we just can't have immigrants here. But they're never going to stop immigration. You can't build a wall. People are going to figure out a way to get under it or over it. We need a solution. We need to create immigration reform. So this rhetoric that you cannot that you need to just leave is unrealistic when there's 11 million undocumented immigrants currently in this country with families and lives and college degrees and careers. They're not just going to leave that easily.
Well, okay, you talk about undocumented and then you say they got college degrees. How did they even get a college degree? Because I know you got to have a social security number to get that.
So, you don't. There's a lot of schools that offer financial aid and applications, private loans to people who are undocumented to get a college degree. It depends on the school, though.
So we're sending government money to undocumented people that are not even citizens of the United States. Is that correct?
Well, no, because you can't apply for FAFSA if you're undocumented.
Right. Yeah, I know
so
that.
So they're paying on their own.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and that is one thing that is happening. You say they're paying on their own. These people are literally paying other illegal people, the cartels, to pay to get them across the border. And that alone is just enabling the cartels to continue to do this. There are some rumors that, because you've talked about money, and I want to get to that in a minute, and I brought it up, but you know, there's some rumors that they're making more money now off of human trafficking than they are drugs itself. Shouldn't we be really telling people don't come over unless it's a proper way?
I mean, I think the problem is that it's so impossible to come here legally that's what people are resorting to. we shouldn't resort to human trafficking. People shouldn't have to come here through cartels or coyotes. But I mean, a lot of people come here without inspection because they feel that they don't have a choice. They want to provide for their family. They want them to have a better life. And sometimes there's no possible way for them to do that.
Right. And the better life part, people still come here. And I get mad all the time when I hear people say America's not the greatest place in the world. And that's a lie, because we literally have people that are coming to this country and literally dying to get to this country. And they hope that at least their little baby can get across the border.
Yeah.
Even though, right? I mean, that has happened.
The unaccompanied minor programs, there's like around 500,000 unaccompanied minors currently in the United States who don't have parents. So they came here as young as toddler age by themselves.
Right.
Do you know about that program? So Trump just took away all the funding for them.
But why would you can't send your kids by themselves, okay?
Oh, a lot of them aren't. So a lot of them die on the way. Yeah.
That's horrific.
It's horrific. Yeah. I mean, some of them die on the way. Some of them send them. So, for example, they're living in like Guatemala and gangs are not letting them leave. And so maybe one of the kids has a chance because they're stronger and younger to go through a church group. A lot of them do. A lot of the children just escape by themselves because their parents are already dead. So they're coming by themselves because maybe they'll seek asylum here, or maybe they have a family member here who could take care of them. So the whole point of the unaccompanied minor program is basically the government like has a federal contract with a bunch of not-for-profits that basically give lawyers certain amount of money to represent them. And a lot of the times you're representing them in immigration court, but you're also representing these young children in human trafficking related. So like they have a lawyer to protect them from further human trafficking because if they don't know the language, they can't represent themselves in court because they're like 2 and 3 years old. What are they supposed to do? Like I said, you're not going to stop them from coming here. So why don't we just make it more feasible and safer?
Yeah. Kathleen, I have to say, I went into this today going because people that don't know you haven't. What's your Instagram again?
Attorney Martinez.
Just Attorney Martinez. But you're the pink lawyer, right? And I think you've done a few plays. And watching you and coming into today, it was like, okay, I need to talk to you because of everything that you're saying on social media. But now you're sharing all these things, and I'm like my guard's coming down because it's like this is horrific stuff that people need to know about.
Yeah, and that's the issue is people don't know. People generally don't know anything about immigrants unless you're an immigrant yourself or you're an immigration lawyer. I think there's a lack of knowledge of immigration. And so a lot of people make assumptions about how easy it is to come here, how easy it is. People literally comment on my Instagram saying, why don't they just sign up for a green card and do it legally? Don't you think they would?
Well, let's get back to the 11 million undocumented people. Okay, that's 11 million people that we know of.
That we know of.
So the estimates are, some are crazy high, some are crazy low on how many actually people have gotten it, especially during the 4 years of the Biden administration. You speak very ill of the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. I don't think you've ever said one nice thing about the Trump administration.
I mean, no, probably not.
Okay. Why is it, though, that border crossings have dropped significantly since we've gone from the Biden to the Trump administration?
I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious why. Because he's scaring away people from coming here.
Okay.
Right?
Well, is he scaring people away from coming, or is he scaring people away from doing it the wrong way?
Possibly both.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to come here. So if that was his goal, then he's definitely achieving it. But also under Biden, he had more humanitarian parole programs for people to come here to the border. And he also allowed asylum. So Trump shut down asylum at the border. So he shut down like TPS, CBP1 app. He shut down every legal avenue almost that you could use at the border.
Right.
So by doing that, that's why they're not coming, because they legally can't. So we'll probably have, shut down crossings. What about uninspected crossings?
Right.
We're probably going to have a lot more people come here without inspection. They're going to come here illegally because we keep taking away avenues and ways for them to come here legally.
Well, I mean, okay, but we're talking about all these avenues and people were already coming over illegally. So for you to sit here and say, we're probably going to have more people coming over illegal.
Yeah.
They're not right now. And
we don't know that because it's undocumented.
Well, right. I know.
Yeah.
Well, yes, man. But at least the captures, I guess, at the border are down tremendously, right?
Yeah.
And that was the other thing, that people were coming over during the Biden administration, literally just walking over and saying, "Oh, come catch us." That used to never be the case. I mean, you used to watch all the funny movies in the 80s and early 90s where people were always having to run and get across. And now all of a sudden that's all stopped. And so the real ones that are still coming over are still going back to that whole thing. You mentioned DACA and all these undocumented people. I remember President Biden put in the DACA, which was for the Dreamers, which is Obama. What did I say? Obama? Biden? Who did
Obama.
I say? Obama did that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was an executive order to basically give these kids the rights to be here. Some of them didn't speak Spanish probably at all. And no, it's never the children's. I don't know how many 5-year-olds sit
come
there
here
and go,
legally on their own.
say, I want to go to America. Like, just like there's no 5-year-olds that say, I want to be a boy instead of a girl. But that's a whole other subject. Mm-hmm. But they're not doing that. But you can't do that in executive order with the power of the pen. The power of the pen cannot give people citizenship or even a pathway. We need Congress. And you mentioned it. And, again, this is what really let my guard down is immigration should not be a political issue. Right. This is a country founded, I believe, I don't care what you say on either side. If you can't agree that this country was not founded by immigrants, then
you don't know how to read.
It's kind of like no
Obviously,
different than,
you haven't read a history book, which is unfortunately debatable.
Well, right. But then the other part too is it's like also with and I think that goes with and I stand on that because it's like the George Floyd horrific thing that happened years ago. I don't find one human being that says what happened to him in that moment was not right.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what I mean about immigration. It's like you can't say that we're not a country founded on immigration.
Yeah.
So why can't we get it in order? You look at Las Vegas. It is economically been proven that you remove every single undocumented immigrant in the city of Las Vegas, Nevada, the city shuts down.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we fix this? What do we do other than blame Trump, blame Biden,
it's a lot of blaming. So I think the problem is a lack of empathy, a lack of education and open-mindedness. Like conversations that we're having right now is about how do we fix it, but not a lot of people want to fix it because they think that it's something that can be stopped. And like I said, immigration is not stoppable. We were founded by immigrants. We're going to continue to be a melting pot.
Yes.
Why don't we take advantage of it and make it economically beneficial to our country rather than build a stupid wall that we're never going to finish and people will figure out a way to fly over. It doesn't logically make sense, but here's the problem. People are so upset about people potentially coming here illegally that they cannot wrap their head around the benefit that we'd have economically of allowing them reform. Because they think you came here illegally. I don't care how much that we would benefit financially by giving you a work permit. I don't care how many billions of taxes you pay a year. I don't care to give you an avenue to stay here legally to provide for your family. You came here legally. I'm mad about it, so leave. So I don't think a lot of people want reform. I don't think they want to benefit from immigration because they're ignorant of the fact that we can't stop it. They think it's something that is preventable.
Well, you talk about that. You don't think they want reform. The joke is always the Democrats want the votes and Republicans need the jobs. And with that being said, and talking about all these things and them contributing to the United States. Our factories, we don't have as many factories anymore. They are starting to really look at getting rid of, they're trying to get rid of all the small farmers and create these giant corporate farming groups, okay? So those are jobs. Those are jobs that are being lost. President Trump right now is actually doing his best to bring those type of jobs back to America. So not only would that provide jobs to us, but then all these people that are coming over would be able to jump back on. I thought it was horrific when Schumer said a couple of months ago that we were taking away strawberry picking jobs from people in California and that the price of strawberries was about to go up. Mm-hmm. And I know what those individuals get paid for picking those strawberries. And I thought that was a shame that guy said the price is going to go up because he was basically it's calling all these immigrants and he's for the border crossing for basically below minimum wage for these people to live off of. And he was trying to make it sound like a good thing. That was horrific. It's like those people bend over backwards literally all day, make nothing just so that we can have cheap strawberries, just so I can pay $5 at HEB. It's like, that's not right. And yet nobody's like these people are coming over illegally. They don't have the rights. They can't say anything because that was their choice in the first place. And then yet we still benefit off of them, whether
well,
like
it's funny
not.
because undocumented immigrants do get exploited all the time. They don't get paid enough because they're undocumented. So you think that all we could do is just give them work authorization, then we can pay them the amount that they deserve, and then problem solved, right?
But the other side of the coin, though, is that, hey, they did not come over the right way. And you can't, two things. You can't pay somebody for doing something wrong. And you also can't take something away once you've given it to them. I mean, look at all the programs that we've had since the Civil Rights Act of 19. Look at all the government programs. You can't take any of them away. Mm-hmm. Once you're giving out handouts, you can never take that back.
Right.
So how do we make it fair to where these people that are undocumented have some sort of a reprimand, but then also motivate people to come over the right way? How do we do that?
Yeah, I think you give them immigration reform. That's what we need. So right now it's virtually impossible to get a green card. You have to marry into it. You can't really earn it. Right? So you have to marry someone, you have to have an immediate relative with legal status, and that's it. So why can't we provide people a pathway to independently earn their right to citizenship? Because I bet you anyone would jump on that if they could. Because all immigrants ever want when they call me is, I want a work permit, I want to support my kids. Yeah. That's all they want to do. They're not committing crimes. They don't want to live off the government. No. They don't want to do any of this stuff. But we have to get past the fact that people entered illegally. Who cares? I'm sorry. But I actually don't think a lot of people really, really care about it, right? Because this rhetoric is coming from people who didn't earn their right to be here. They were born into it, right? So I didn't earn my right to be here. My great grandpa did.
I don't know. I think that's different because
it's
you
privilege,
think
for sure.
It's privilege. No.
Yeah.
And that's privilege for granted. You earned your right to be here. You should be proud to be an American. And I think that's what is happening. You know, the great thing of hard times make hard men, hard make soft times, soft make soft people.
Yeah.
And somehow people think it's just not fair that we were born here. I'll never once think that it's not, that I was not. My grandparents.
I think it's fair. I think it's legal.
And it's my privilege to be an American. I'm honored to be an American. And again, the fact that people are dying to come here should make me want to be an American citizen even that much more.
Yeah.
Okay. So just because you were born into it, okay, yeah, you're white and you're blonde. That's great. You are a smart person. Okay, you're talented. And those two things didn't come just because. Those you had to earn.
Oh, no, but
so when you say privilege, it's like, no, just because you were born here, you were born here. That's great.
Yeah.
And it's an honor that you were born here. No different than my parents that were, from San Antone. My dad, he had dirt on the floors for his first 3 years of his life. He remembers that. And it's like, it's a privilege that we were all born here and that we don't have to, that we didn't have to, that we're the ones that didn't. But there was somebody back in the day that was here. And it's like, I want to give thanks to that my grandfather, who did come over illegally in 1926 or 36. Right. He came over illegally, got it done. But I'm thankful that he came because then he put my mom through a master's degree. And then I'm thankful for my great-grandparents that got my dad here and that my grandparents on that side believed in education so much.
So I have a question for you. If it was your dad who came illegally to give you this privilege of being an American, would your perspective change on the people who come here illegally?
I bend over backwards. I would bend over backwards for my dad to make sure he's here properly.
Yeah.
Because you want to fight for those people. That's what I think. Right. Now, I'll get into the Hispanic or Mexican culture that I see today where I think they take advantage of their parents because they don't speak English. And the parents work and bust their ass for their kids. Yeah. And they are spoiled little brats. Okay. That's honestly a lot of what I see.
But what I'm coming from is people who are born here who are so anti-immigrant because they're like, you need to earn your way. Don't live off the government, which they can't. So you can't come here illegally. But I don't know. I do not care, even before I was an immigration attorney, that people came here illegally. I don't care that people cross the street and jaywalk. I don't care. What I do care about, though, is that they contribute to this economy, that they care about their country, and that they benefit society, which they all do, mostly, right? So they come here, they work really hard, they provide for their families, they learn English, they know Spanish, they really benefit our economy. So the fact that their parents came here illegally, to give them that life. I mean, these are the most patriotic people I know, ironically. Is that funny?
It is.
Like,
and no, I do care because I've witnessed these people that come over illegally and how they live in horrific conditions with people that are not good people. I have been, when I was a kid, on the border at a hunting ranch, and I'm very blessed that I could do that, where my dad and my uncles would put water in boxes. And I'm a 6 or 8 year old boy, and I didn't understand why they were putting water in boxes, and to make sure that people that were coming over illegally at least had a spot that they could stop and get something to drink, even though they weren't for it. Or the fact that one time I saw a burn spot when I'm 8 years old. I have no idea what this burn spot is. And all my dad told me at that time, he goes, oh, a dead animal must have died there. And no, years later, he shares that somebody literally burned up in the August heat trying to come over illegally, fighting for their right to be here. So I care about these individuals. And do you want to talk about what they're doing? We mentioned the cartels and what they're doing to the little kids, boys and girls that are, this needs to stop.
Yeah.
And it needs to be that the fact that, where I come from, I do care about this. And the fact that I'm different because of 90% of my family believes another way. And I do believe that is ingrained in Hispanics to be Democrats. Okay. Because once you get a Hispanic that actually has a real job, not a real job, that's an entrepreneur, they finally realize that, wait a minute, these guys are taking all my money. And it's like, so that's where the privilege of me being here and why I care so much is because I've seen this. Yeah. And it is horrific. That it's more about the lives that are being lost. So we talk about the undocumented people. How many people are being lost and never found again that are undocumented? Are all the people that die to get over
it's horrible. And both sides of the aisle, we're all upset about the same thing.
And the fact that you are you're very smart, Kathleen. And it's like you are fighting for these people. And so when you say, hey, well, I don't have a privilege because I was born here. Yes, ma'am. You look at all the privilege that you have.
You're not fighting for these people
because you're fighting for all these people.
I'm very lucky to have been born here.
Right.
But I cannot say that I have empathy for people who weren't as lucky. Right. I can't say that I have the same experience as someone who was born in Guatemala and is automatically being subjected to the cartels. Yeah. I didn't have to fight for my life like that.
Automatically being subjected. It's horrific. What's going on below our great Rio Grande River is horrific down there. There is no law down there. And so I think what you're doing is awesome. I mean, you're fighting for these people. And again, kind of like I talked about, it's like, when we first started this interview, it's like I had my guard up, but it's like, wait a minute, this lady, she knows what she's doing. She's fighting for these people that truly care. Because it's like you said, they want to contribute to America. They almost see it as a badge of honor to pay taxes. Well, we do bitch about that. I mean, they see it as a badge of honor. And they just want to provide for their families just like every other American.
Right.
And they believe still in the American dream.
Right.
And that to me is what I also think is really unique is that President Trump wants America to get back to that American dream of people being able to own. And because housing prices have gotten ridiculous.
Right.
Vehicles, a pickup truck, just go out to the oil field now is $100,000.
Yeah.
Just so I can go get it dirty. That's crazy.
I know.
And so having you on is just awesome because you're actually fighting for these people that don't have a voice, which is a beautiful thing. And yet at the same time, they almost don't deserve a voice because they came over illegally. That's hard to say in one thing. I sound like an asshole when I say that, just how that
you do.
That you're fighting for these people that don't have a voice, and yet they don't deserve a voice because they didn't come over the right way. And one thing that you and I have talked about in the past is undocumented versus illegal.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that for a second and switch gears here. And can you share what the difference is? Because I don't think anybody truly knows. And to me, that's a big difference.
Yeah, I think what's concerning is how many people feel so righteous about immigration in the United States, yet they're so stupid.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem is you can't be mean, ignorant, and stupid. You have to pick one. And unfortunately, that's a good portion of our United States when they get on the internet and they start ranting about immigration, right?
Right.
So then they call immigrants illegals. They call them criminals. You cannot be... No person can be illegal. Legal is a term that's akin to an action.
Well, and if I may, you talk about criminals. I voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
Right.
Okay. And when he did say that Mexicans were criminals or something like that, like 8 years, I was like, wait a minute, bro. It's like, we're not all criminals.
Yeah.
But okay, so I just want to throw that out there, but keep going. Okay.
Because that was horrific. But so being a person cannot be illegal because illegal is akin to an action, right? So just to throw my legalese in there, it's just stupid. Like, you have to be stupid to call a person illegal.
Is that a legal term? Stupid?
Yeah. Just to get down to their level, you're stupid. Like, you can't call someone illegal, but even if you did, illegal means you violated a crime. And it's not a crime to be undocumented. It's a civil violation, which is the same as not paying your parking ticket, right?
Right.
It's a civil violation, and no one knows that. And I will go on the internet.
Say that again. Say it again, because that's big. Say it again.
It is a civil violation to be undocumented. It is not a crime. So illegal immigrants cannot be illegal immigrants because they're not criminals.
Right.
They're undocumented.
And now, what is an undocumented person 9 times out of 10?
Undocumented meaning you don't have legal documentation.
Or you said that they overstayed their visa.
Yeah. So a lot of undocumented immigrants came here the right way.
Right.
Lost their status because the president took it away recently.
No. Let's not use the president one. But
yeah.
what are the normal
it's true,
way?
though. Like, because so many of these immigration programs that give you legal status are easily ripped away either by court orders or different administrations.
Executive orders is what I talk about with DACA.
It's true. Right. So it's a lot of these are temporary.
Okay.
Some of them are more permanent.
Right.
But it's hard because a lot of these temporary programs allowed people to come here legally. And then when they're ripped away in like a month, it's really hard because they uprooted their family. They got work authorization, a social, they bought a house.
But will you say just one more time about that being undocumented is a civil, just say it because that blows me away.
Yes.
So can you just say it one more time?
Being an undocumented, this is why we call immigrants undocumented versus illegal.
Okay.
Because being illegal means you committed a crime. And being undocumented is a civil violation. It's not a crime.
And a civil violation, like you said, is just like a traffic ticket.
It's exactly like a traffic ticket.
Yeah.
So when people say illegals are criminals, even in the White House, it's so factually incorrect. Like, are their lawyers not telling them what the truth is?
Well, now, but the illegal, though, if I'm correct, in our meeting before is an illegal person comes over illegally. Mm-hmm. So, lack of better description, they wake up, they swim across the Rio Grande, and they're here illegally. That is a federal crime.
Yeah, so that's different.
That's a federal crime.
Correct.
But to be undocumented, which means you got a green card or a work visa or an education visa or that SB1 thing.
Yeah.
You got any of those and you
don't have it anymore.
You're undocumented.
Correct.
And it's a civil violation,
not a crime.
Or civil breaking the law.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it is a crime to cross illegally. It's true.
Right.
Like, that, no one denies that, but what people don't know is that a good portion of the undocumented population here in the United States came here legally. So they can't be criminals.
Yeah. And when you hear people like, well, they're all undocumented, and that to me is what blew my mind, is like that big difference right there that nobody understands.
Yes.
And that both sides are playing the words to the extremes, right? Because here you're talking about Donald Trump and they took it away. It's like, but what about all the people that had the school visas and then they don't get a work visa afterward, but then they have a work, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people, and we gotta, So anyway, that's why I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's a big difference, Kathleen, and you're actually telling people about that because not a lot of people know that unfortunately, it's not a big crime, so why can't we fix it?
I think lack of empathy. I think there's a lot of lack of empathy from people who aren't immigrants. They're not related to immigrants. Right. They don't understand immigrants, and they don't want to get to know them. They don't want to see a face behind the name. We call it the boogeyman kind of theory because they look at immigrants and say, nope, they're all criminals. They're all criminals because that way you don't have to have empathy for people who may have come here illegally or lost status, right?
Right.
And then you don't feel like you have to come help them. So there's either a lack of understanding, lack of education, or just lack of empathy in general. And that's why it is so hard for advocates like me on social media to get through to these people on the far right because they just don't want to help these people. They just don't care. And I could put all the numbers on my screen saying this is exactly how much more money we'd make as a country if you gave them a green card, and they don't care. It's not about logic. It's not about numbers. It's just inherently horrible people who just don't want to help other people, right?
Right.
It's just lack of empathy. And I can't get through to people like that. And that's the problem. And I think if you look at the core problems, there's some racism. Can't deny that, right? But there's also people who are uneducated.
Yeah.
So those are the people who are the worst when it comes to like who I want to.
Because they're not racist, but they're just
stupid.
Yeah, and it's like, wait a minute, bro. Like, you're a nice guy. Like, do you not know what? Yeah. Because there is some. Obviously, there's racism, which I don't want to get into that whole thing about where I think we've stepped back, but I think it was 20 years ago that we stepped back, not now. But the fact that some people are just the majority are uneducated are turning the other eye.
Yeah.
Or I mean, turning away, turning the cheek.
And a lot of people are like, look, it doesn't affect me. And there are even Democrats who don't care about immigration because they're like, I'm not an immigrant. My parents are immigrants. I don't know immigrants. I don't care. And that's how a lot of people vote, which is like, okay, you can't really help that. But there's also people who are educated and smart and they're learning about the issues. They're like, wait, if we give them green cards, we'll make more money. We'll be better off as a country. Cool. Then let's just get them green cards, right?
Right. So with the green cards, and I'm not going to call it a social security card, but they have some form of a ID that
you get an SSN, you get a license.
Okay, and then you're fine.
Well, yeah. Taxes. Well, So you can get an SSN with a temporary work authorization as well. Mm-hmm. So you're documented. You're paying taxes. You're legally here. And then when you're a citizen, obviously you have all rights.
So let me ask you this: what's the normal time frame for somebody that in Monterrey, Mexico, and they go, you know what, I want to become an American citizen? What's the normal time frame to do something like that?
Right. So if you've ever been here, if you overstayed your visa,
no, just somebody in Mexico,
like they've never been here, never
even been here, but they're like, you know what? I mean, granted, you can come for a trip, like we can go places, but I mean, but if they wanted to become an American citizen and do it the right way, starting day one, how does that work?
I mean, you're looking at probably 5 to 7 years on average before you're a citizen. It's very, very difficult and very expensive.
That's a decade.
It's huge. It's about a decade. Yeah. It's about a decade before anyone's a citizen. If you're lucky and you're even eligible, because there's so few ways to give people a green card.
What are the ways and then why so few?
Marriage. So you can, the most common way to get a green card is through family. So you either have a parent, child, or spouse petition for you or a sibling. But depending on your age and your marital status and who's petitioning for you, whether they're a green card holder or they're a citizen, there's certain wait times. So the government caps the family-based category depending on what you're filing in. So if a sibling is petitioning for another sibling and you're from a country with a high immigration rate, the wait is 22 years for Mexico. It takes 22 years to bring your sibling over here. Yeah. Yes. So if you want to bring your parent over here and you're over 21, it's about the same amount of time. The only fast way is the non-cap categories, which is if you have a child over 21 who's a citizen petition for you, or you're married to a U.S. citizen. That's about it. Everybody else has to wait a significantly long amount of time. And if you're from a country, God forbid, that comes here a lot, they're going to limit it even more. Okay. So it's just unrealistic. It's very impossible. If you're going for an employment-based visa and you're from a country with high immigration rate like India, then these are like the best and brightest engineers that we're bringing over here, right? Right. That even the Trump administration agrees we need. Yes. Right?
Yeah, right. But he wants to keep them here too, which I agree. It's like, hey, if we're going to train you, and I always joke about OU, Oklahoma. So all you OU people that I think if y'all had to sign, all you Texans that go to OU to play football, if y'all had to sign an agreement, y'all had to live and work in Oklahoma for 10 years after you went to school there, you would not go to school there. I know you would. Y'all come right back to the great state of Texas. But
the football thing's so funny in Texas because I'm not a Texan. And it's just the weirdest crap. It's like
I believe that 100%. Nobody would go to OU to play football if they had to stay in that state.
That's funny.
But anyway, no.
But so for India, if you want to get an employment-based visa on the most common type of employment-based visa, which is called an H-1B, and you're from India, it's like a 20-year wait as well. Mm-hmm. So we really want them here. Companies really need them here, but it's going to take you 20 years too. Yeah.
What do you think about that gold card thing he was talking about?
I think it's unrealistic. No one with $5 million needs to come here.
Well, how cool would it be?
It would be dope, obviously. But if you have $5 million, why do you need to uproot your life? Obviously, you're doing pretty well wherever you're at. Yeah, one's going to, people come here to make money.
Well, my thoughts would be the corporations would buy them and then they would then use them for that.
Possibly.
And then we'd have I think they said something like X amount of them, and then we'd be like, we'd pay off all of our national debt or something like that.
Yeah, but you'd have to pay. Yeah, you'd have to pay the government. So the government would have to make $5 million. So you'd have to pay the government $5 million to get over here.
Yeah.
I just don't know anyone who'd be like, yeah, for sure. Let me give up $5 million to be in America. Even though I love America, but like, obviously they're doing pretty well wherever they're at.
They probably already been here once or twice.
Yeah, they probably have a visa already. They probably figured it out. It's just, I think there's so many other ways that we can like make money through immigration.
Yeah. So right now, you guys at Martinez Law, Martinez Immigration, y'all are super busy right now.
Yes.
What's the most common phone call you get?
I'm scared.
Wow.
I'm scared. I'm terrified. I've lived here all my life. My parents brought here illegally. Trump just took away TPS. I don't know if I'm going to have DACA in a year. How do I get a green card? Or how do I get a work permit? How do I work legally? I just want to work legally. How do I provide for my kids? Wow. Yeah, people are terrified. They're crying on the phone with me all day. I'm crying with them half the time because I just can't believe the stories I hear. Yeah. And I get to know immigrants more than anybody. Let's be real.
You need to share this stuff.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my experience is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. I think once you get to know these people and their stories, you completely change your perspective on immigration and how to fix it. And that's why people like you and I, we know immigrants, we know their stories. So that's why we actually want to advocate for reform, right? Whether you're far right, far left, it doesn't really matter. We also understand logically how much our country would benefit. So we understand like these people are good people mostly who need help and I want to help them. And I feel like they're deserving. And I also understand that our country would benefit from it. So there's just no loss to giving them a green card.
Yeah. Well, there's so many more things I want to dive into. So I want to have you do this again.
Yeah.
Because, you talk about these stories and what people have done. And I mean, I know people that don't speak any English don't speak any Spanish, but they've been here forever.
Right.
And, I think Reagan was the last one that did amnesty, if I'm correct. And,
it's the last time we've had immigration reform.
Right. And watch Trump be the one to do it.
That'd be great.
But
I would roll over like in my grave after dying.
For those out there that do need professional help, not for mental, but for their legal, how can they get a hold of you guys?
They can go to our social media, Attorney Martinez on Instagram, DM us, or martinezimmigration.net is our website. Okay.
Well, Kathleen, I cannot thank you enough for your time and the knowledge that I really hope you continue to put out there. Again, you've got great social media presence, and I'm really just excited to see what great content to educate individuals on, because that's always the last part. It's like, you can't shove the Bible, like I believe in God, you can't shove the Bible down somebody's throat, but you can at least put the information out there.
Yeah, and see what they do with it.
See what they do. Well, guys, I can't thank y'all enough. Kathleen, thank you so much. And for anybody out there that has any questions, I'm not an expert. Kathleen truly is an expert when it comes to immigration law. And the bottom line is immigration should not be a political issue. We are a country founded on that, and we've got to get to the bottom of it and get it fixed. And that's the crude truth. We'll see you again. Thank you.
Again, the Crude Truth would like to thank today's sponsors: LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Sandstone Group, Exec Crew, Texas Star Alliance, Pecos Country Operating, and Real News Communication Network.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.